What did I tell y'all? What did I freaking tell y'all? Never a doubt, baby. Never a doubt. But nevertheless, welcome into the women's basketball rundown. I am Kadarius Washington, and it's a pleasure to have you in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and click the notification bell because half the time I don't even know when I be posting on here. So click that notification bell to be notified of when I post again. And also follow me on Twitter and on Blue Sky at CW Talk Sports. That's CWTALKS Sports. And I think you know where I'm gonna start. Never a doubt. UConn is your 2025 women's college basketball champions. I picked them before the season to win it all, basically because I believed Gino Auriemma was due to win a title. I mean, it's been 9 years for crying out loud, but nevertheless, they got it done. And I gotta say this, this UConn team and this Paige Becker's run was nothing short of a great American sports story. I mean, all of the setbacks and all of the obstacles and all of the things that this UConn team has been through over the last few years. I mean, like I said, 9 years since Gino and this team won a championship. And looking at the circumstances with Paige Beckers and AZ Fudd, starting with AZ Fudd, missed 11 games her freshman year due to a foot injury, missed 22 games her sophomore year due to a knee injury, played only 2 games in her junior year because of a torn ACL. She came back this year, was off to a little bit of a slow start, but man, when AZ Fudd got it going, she got it going. She was phenomenal throughout the women's basketball tournament. I mean, she did have a bad game against Southern California. That was pretty much the only bad game she had at the tournament. She was incredible in the championship game and was named most outstanding player, but a little bit on that later. But Paige Beckers, I mean, what a player, what a story. One of the all-time greats for UConn and the sport. The only player to win National Player of the Year as a freshman. And then in her sophomore season, that off season beforehand, she had to have a procedure on her ankle because of some sort of defect in there involving joint damage and bone and cartilage. And then she eventually came back and played in October before the season. And then a couple of months later, she suffered a fractured tibia and torn meniscus and missed a significant chunk of the season. She did come back though and lead the Huskies to the national championship game where ultimately they lost to South Carolina. And then of course her junior season, she missed her entire junior season with a torn ACL, ended up redshirting. She came back last year, and obviously we know the situation, them losing to Iowa on that moving screen, and then coming back this year for her fifth season and winning it all for UConn. I mean, that is incredible. Incredible story, incredible team. And Gino Auriemma, I mean, already the greatest coach in the history of women's basketball, but Gino is definitely one of the all-time greatest coaches in American sports. I mean, 12 national championships, winning a championship in 4 different decades. And look at the teams that Gino's had. He's had the Rebecca Lobo teams, he has had the Swin Cash teams, he had Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, Nafisa Collier, all of those teams, the Brianna Stewart years, the 111 game win streak, the winning 4 straight national championships from 2013 to 2016. I mean, Gino Auriemma is on a run. that I don't think we're ever going to see again in sports. And winning a championship for the first time in 9 years, a million Final Fours to boot. Gino Auriemma, definitely one of the all-time greats, and definitely a great season for the UConn Huskies. All right, let's get to the game. Like I said, UConn absolutely destroyed, humiliated South Carolina 82 to 59. They become the first program since 2019 to beat South Carolina twice in the same season. AZ Fudd had 24 points and 5 rebounds and was named the most outstanding player of the tournament. And really, you could have made an argument too that Sarah Strong could have won most outstanding player. She had 24, 15, and 5, along with 2 steals and 3 blocks, and she becomes the first player to score at least 20, 15, and 5 in a championship game setting. And I mean, defensively too. I mean, yeah, she only had 3 blocks, but if you look at her defensively, it kind of looked like she had more. She impacted a lot of South Carolina shots. I mean, nobody could get into that paint with Sarah Strong there. And listen, folks, and I've said this multiple times on my women's basketball rundowns, Sarah Strong scares me. Sarah Strong, and she's just a freshman. Doing all of this stuff that she's doing as a freshman is absolutely absurd. And UConn gets 3 more years of Sarah Strong. And listen, I'll tell you now, folks, this is not going to be the last time Sarah Strong is going to be in a championship game. And I really don't think this is the last time we're going to see Sarah Strong cut down the nets. I can really see UConn winning another championship in the Sarah Strong era. I mean, she really has a Maya Moore, Diana Taurasi kind of ceiling to her, and that scares me. And that could be enough, really, if you think about it, because UConn for a long time had been viewed as the villains of the sport because of them winning so much. I mean, seeing Sarah Strong and everything that she's done, and of course, UConn being UConn, that could be just about all it takes for the Huskies to turn back into the villains of the sport. But nevertheless, incredible. I mean, one of the all-time great freshman seasons in women's basketball, and Paige Beckers 17 points and 16 rebounds on the game. And listen, Beckers, I mean, she just does it all. I mean, she has been an absolutely phenomenal player throughout her college career, and this championship cemented her legacy of one of the all-time greatest players, not just in UConn history, but you can also argue one of the all-time great players in the women's basketball history. And looking at it too, UConn's big three with Paige Beckers, AZ Fudd, and Sarah Strong outscored South Carolina 65 to 59. That is absolutely absurd. And looking at South Carolina, they just got their butts kicked. I mean, that's literally all you can say. They got their behinds handed to them in this game. They only had 2 players in double digits, Joyce Edwards and Tessa Johnson, and they both had 10 points. Um, you saw Dawn Staley throwing a temper tantrum in the third quarter while only down by 14. And at that moment, I guess you could make the argument that South Carolina they just ran out of gas in this one. And despite the loss, I mean, I thought they played kind of decent defensively and on the offensive glass. They had 17 offensive rebounds to UConn's 14. South Carolina had 4 blocks while Connecticut had 5 overall. They had 6 steals to Connecticut's 8 and 10 points off of turnovers to Connecticut's 14. Now listen, I know Mylasia Wiley was benched for a good majority of the game, I guess, but I mean, if you think well, I'll put it like this. I will be absolutely shocked. I would be floored if Mylasia Fulwiley entered the transfer portal. I mean, people have been calling on her for about a couple of years now to go ahead and jump into that portal. I would be absolutely floored if Mylasia Fulwiley entered into the transfer portal. And as far as South Carolina is concerned, I mean, I said this after the first UConn loss, and you can look back at it on YouTube. I said that this South Carolina was a great team, but they just weren't a championship team this year. I mean, they had no bona fide star or leading player, and you could argue that it would kind of went to their detriment. They had size issues, and those issues reared its ugly head. Now, this was a game too that they definitely missed Ashlyn Watkins, who unfortunately tore her ACL earlier in the season. And as I said before, you can make an argument that the two reasons that South Carolina won those other games against UConn, Aaliyah Boston, and Camila Cardoso. And I said that Boston and Cardoso was not going to be walking through those locker room doors anytime soon. And along with that, it was a lot of, I mean, you can argue that their offense was a little suspect going back to the Duke game, the Indiana game, and maybe the what was the other game? They played Duke, they played Indiana, the Maryland game. That was the other one. And everybody knew that they were going to beat Texas in the Final Four. That was a foregone conclusion. I mean, this South Carolina team, now I did say that they had an Elite Eight seal to them, and obviously they made it to the championship game, which is incredible on their part too. And listen, folks, they're going to be back in the championship game. Dawn Staley is still one of the all-time great head coaches in the sport, even though they're going to be saying goodbye to Tahina Paopao, Sanaya Fegan, and Bree Hall. And of course, we don't know to this point what Raven Johnson is going to do. She does have another year of eligibility due to an injury she suffered her freshman year. But they're going to be bringing in Agat McKeer and Ayla McDowell in the as far as recruiting is concerned, and I think they're going to be great players for South Carolina. And but I mean, no doubt about it, this is a tough pill for South Carolina to swallow. But like I said, they're a great team. They're going to be in the championship discussion still, and they're going to be back in this setting before you know it. And ESPN also released their top 25 way too early championship contenders, but top 25. They had UCLA at number one. They had South Carolina at number two, UConn at number three, and then Texas and Duke rounding out the top five. And of course, earlier today, the AP poll, the women's AP poll released their final poll, and UConn on top with a 37-3 record, and I think that's the first time since 2021 they finished on the top of the final ranking. South Carolina at number two with UCLA number three, Texas at number four, and then USC, Southern California rounding out the top five there. All right, folks, we can't conclude the women's college basketball season without a top five list, and I got one for you right here. Let's go. All right. Today's top five, my top five way too early championship contenders heading into next season. And here we go. At number five, I've got Tennessee. I really think Tennessee is going to be a really big sleeper heading into next season. Second year under Kim Caldwell. I mean, I kind of enjoy their style of play too. I mean, I understand that it can get a little repetitive sometimes with them constantly pressing and the hockey line substitutions, but when it's good, they definitely get it going. So I really like Tennessee, and of course them getting a big win against UConn. earlier in the season, so I like them. Number four, I have UCLA. Now, listen, I know they did go out sad against UConn, but they're pretty much getting all of their major scorers back. They're getting Lauren Bett's sister there, who's just as good as Lauren. So that's going to be a thing to watch as far as UCLA is concerned. And at number three, I have Duke. Carol Lawson did an incredible job with Duke. She's done an incredible job as a coach. They're getting just about everybody back as far as the Blue Devils are concerned. And right now, because of the Notre Dame situation, I believe that Duke, as of this very moment, is the best team in the ACC. And at number two, I got UConn. Even though they're going to be saying goodbye to Paige Beckers, they still have one more year of AZ Fudd and 3 more years of Sarah Strong. So they're definitely going to be in the championship conversation heading into next season. And number one on my list, South Carolina, for two reasons. Number one, with the recruiting and McKeer and McDowell going to be incredible players for South Carolina. And number two, Dawn Staley has the tendency to land a big fish out of the transfer portal. I mean, she's been doing this. This has been her game ever since a transfer portal even existed. I mean, she did it in 2016, getting Alicia Gray out of North Carolina, and the very next year they win a championship. In 2021, she gets Camila Cardoso out of Syracuse. The very next year they win a championship. In 2023, she gets Tahina Pow out of Oregon. The very next year they win a championship. Dawn Staley has a tendency of getting these players out of the portal, and I really have a feeling that she's going to land a big name or two into the transfer portal, and that's going to be something to watch. And speaking of the transfer portal, the one of the first Notre Dame players from the portal found a new home. Kate Koval committing to LSU. I think that is a really nice pickup there for Kim Mulkey, and as far as that LSU squad is concerned. All right, one more college basketball note that I want to get into, and that's JuJu Watkins. I mean, JuJu Watkins absolutely cleaned up these Player of the Year awards. I mean, look at the awards that she's won. AP Player of the Year, Wooden Award, the Dawn Staley Award, the Naismith Player of the Year, the Women's Basketball Writers National Player of the Year, the Ann Myers Drysdale Award for Shooting Guards, Consensus First Team All-American, Big Ten Player of the Year. I mean, folks, fully healthy JuJu Watkins cannot return to the court soon enough because she's absolutely phenomenal. The awards and the gameplay speaks for itself. She is cementing her legacy as well as one of the all-time greats in the sport, and I know her comeback is going to be absolutely something special. All right, folks, let us get into this WNBA draft. I mean, it is a crazy turnaround how we literally go from the Final Four and the Women's Championship game all the way to the WNBA season. We got the draft a week from Monday. We got of course, a couple of weeks WNBA training camp, and then the season starts. And from the Final Four, we got some breaking news here. UCLA's Avari Kane is entering the transfer portal, the freshman. So we're starting to see a little movement now from some of the other teams and some other transfer portal names. The Auburn transfer Savannah Scott committing to UCF, and Iowa State's Kelsey Jones entering the transfer portal. You got Penn State's hold up, it's a Penn State player, Gabby. I think her name is Gabby Elliott, something like that. Yes, Gabby Elliott committing to Arizona State. You got yeah, definitely a good few names in this transfer portal, and that is definitely something to monitor as we get going here as far as the women's basketball offseason is concerned. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and get into this WNBA draft. Paige Beckers, I mean, in all likelihood, is going to go number one to the Dallas Wings. And like I said, college basketball is going to miss Paige Beckers in a UConn uniform playing in Gamble Pavilion. But I think she is going to do just fine in Dallas. Arike Agumbawale and Dejanay Carrington are going to make her feel right at home. So that's a really good situation there for Dallas and Paige Beckers. And with the Olivia Miles news from last week, her announcing that she's going to be skipping the draft and entering the transfer portal, that definitely threw a wrench into what we thought would be the lottery picks, foregone lottery conclusions for the WNBA draft. And I'm seeing that the number two pick is somewhere between Dominique Malanga, the center from France, Sonia Citron out of Notre Dame, and I even saw in a couple of places putting Kiki Iriafen back in that number two slot. I don't know per se about Iriafen being the number two pick, but if you ask me right now, who I think now, don't get me wrong, Iriafen is definitely going to be a top five, top six pick, but number two, I don't know. But if you ask me between Malanga and Citron, who I think the number two pick is, blind guess, I say Sonia Citron. I mean, she's a phenomenal guard, I believe, out of Notre Dame. She's shot the ball really well in a few games, and I think Seattle is really in need of a guard here. So I think Sonia Citron would be a nice pickup there as far as Seattle is concerned. And then you've got, like I said, Iria Finn, Cheyenne Sellers, Anissa Morrow, who, me personally, Anissa Morrow is my dark horse to win Rookie of the Year. You've got Georgia Amore and Haley Van Lith, who I think are who should be taken in the first 12 picks, because remember, you only got 12 picks this year in the first round because of Vegas forfeiting their first round pick because of impermissible player benefits, that whole De'Erica Hamby situation from a couple of years ago. But I think we're gonna see either Tahina Pau or Sanaya Fegan go in the first round. I think between the two of them, I mean, you could go either way with it, but I think one of them are going to go in the is going to go in the first round. Now, obviously, Pau Fegan and honestly, Bree Hall, I believe, are going to get drafted. But I mean, and another thing with that too, Bree Hall, Isaiah James, Lucy Olson, Sarah Ashley Barker, Michaela Timpson are some other names that I would like to see where they land as far as the draft is concerned. And a couple of mid-major players for you to pay attention to. One of them being Harmony Turner out of Harvard, who, by the way, she has an incredible story too. Incredible player leading Harvard to the NCAA tournament for the first time in a very long time. She won the Becky Hammon Award for Best Mid-Major Player of the Year. So I think she's going to be really, really good in the WNBA. And another player that I have my eye on is Diamond Johnson out of Norfolk State. I think she would make a really nice bench piece for someone, a really nice sixth or seventh player on someone's team. She was named college all-star MVP. And so that's another mid-major player to watch as far as that's concerned. And I also saw just a while ago the rating is out for the national championship. 8.5 million viewers, the third most watched championship game since 1996. Now, obviously, we weren't going to get 24 million like we did last year for South Carolina and Iowa, but 8.5, that's a very, very good number. And it definitely shows that the sport is growing. And also, one more WNBA note for those who may be interested: the Candace Parker jersey retirement, because we got the news that she was getting her jersey retired. That game on June 29th is going to be on ESPN, so nationally televised game for the legendary Candace Parker and all of her accomplishments with the Los Angeles Sparks. And folks, that's it for the women's college basketball season. And now we are on to the WNBA. We've got a lot to look forward there, and I am looking forward coming on here and covering all of it with y'all. But nevertheless, that's it for the women's basketball rundown. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also follow me on Twitter and on Blue Sky at CW Talk Sports. That's CWTALKS Sports. I do plan on coming on here doing another women's basketball rundown next week to break down the WNBA draft and look at teams that got better and player situations. But nevertheless, I will see y'all the next time. Peace.